Following on from the previous video, we got to this stage here where we found the value of a. A happens to be -2, so we can put it into here. So this whole thing here will then become this. So the next task is to find the axis of symmetry, and also the largest value of g, So the axis of symmetry. Well, if you look at this, it seems like if it's -1, because the distance from here to here is 2, the distance from here to here is 2, and the largest value occurs right here. So really, we are trying to find the location of the vertex. We are trying to find this location. The minute we can identify this location, then we've got our symmetry here, and we will also have our largest value right here. Okay, so our next task really is to find this location of the vertex. Okay, so looking at this, so to find the location of vertex, we would complete the square. So complete the square on this. So let's multiply this thing out. So this times this will give us x squared. This times this will give us -x. This times this would give us positive 3x. This times this would give us -3. Tidy this up so we can merge these two together. That will then give us positive 2x. So this whole thing here will then become this. So now multiply this out. This times this will then give us this. This times this will then give us this. This times this will then give us this. So now complete the square on this. Remember, with completing the square, we can only do it when the coefficient is 1. So let's factor out this -2. So factor out the -2. So if you then that will then give us this thing here. Because if you get this times this, it will then give you this. If you get this times this, that will then give you this. If you get this times this, that will then give you this. So from here, you really want to factor out the -2. So what's left on the inside? This thing here has a coefficient of 1. When it has a coefficient of 1, we can complete the square. So completing the square, completing the square. Well, to complete the square on this, your eyes should zoom into this bit here, and then it's always half of this thing here. Well, half of the 2 is actually 1. So completing the square on this, your eyes should zoom into this. So your guess should be this, +1 squared. And then you've got to take away the rubbish. Remember, the rubbish will be, the rubbish will be this, x plus 1. Well, squared is really this thing here, x plus 1. The rubbish will be 1 times 1. So you immediately take away the rubbish, and then you carry the -3 down. So this thing here would then give you this. So now you've got one block here and another block here. Merge these two together. That will then give you -4. So now you can multiply this out. So you can imagine this as being like one whole block, and this as being another block. So this times this will give you -2 of that block, because -2 is one block times this. This times this here will then give you this bit here, and this times the -4, that will then give you +8. So you're trying to find out this location here. Well, looking at this, if you stick a -1 into here, that will then take you to here. So, well, hang on, let's start again here. You're trying to find out the highest point here. To find the highest point, at the moment you've got one block taking away another block. So you can imagine it like this. You've got a block of 8, and then you're taking away this massive block here. If you're trying to find out the highest point, then you want to minimize this block, because you've got 8, take away something. Well, if you minimize this something here, that will then give you the highest point, because you're trying to find out the highest point. So try and take away as little as possible. Well, if you put a -1 into here, then this whole thing here will be 0. 0 squared will be 0. Times 2 will be 0. If you put a -1 into here, this block here will be 0. So you're taking away 0, which is the lowest number that you can have for this block. So if you're trying to find out the highest point, make this to be as small as possible. Well, if you put a -1 into here, a negative one into here, then this g of x will be at its highest point. So this is really -1, and if you put -1 into here, this whole thing here will be 0. So g of x will jump to 8. So this point here will be -1, +8. So you found your vertex. So from this, you know the symmetry will be when x equals -1, and the highest value is when y equals 8. So that's the highest value. Okay. So you'll locate. Well, once you've located this, you can answer all the questions that you need to know. So this is -1, 8. So once you've got this point, you can answer all your questions. Okay.